She didn't tell you who she is, did she? The man's voice slipped through the ballroom music like a knife through silk. Marcus Reed stood still beneath a chandelier the size of his entire living room, one hand curled around a tiny purple hair clip in his pocket. Nia had pressed it into his palm that morning before school, serious as a judge. "For luck, Daddy," she had said. Now it dug into his skin while 100 polished faces turned toward him. The man in the tuxedo smiled without warmth. Silver cufflinks. White teeth. A glass of champagne balanced easily in his hand. "You thought Evelyn Hart was just some woman who needed a date?" Marcus looked past him. Across the ballroom, Evelyn stood near the raised stage, her blue dress catching the gold light, her shoulders rigid beneath the attention. She wasn't smiling anymore. A banner behind her read Hartwell Holdings Annual Foundation Gala. The letters were 10 feet tall. Marcus read them once. Then again. Hartwell. Hart. His throat tightened. He had seen that name on buildings downtown. On hospitals. On the side of a black town car that had idled outside the hotel entrance. "Marcus," Evelyn said. Her voice was quiet, but it reached him. "Please." The orchestra kept playing. Soft strings. Soft laughter. Soft shoes moving across marble floors. Everything in the room looked expensive enough to survive a fire, yet Marcus had never felt anything so fragile. He looked down at the purple hair clip in his hand. Then back at Evelyn. "Who are you?" he asked. No one answered. Not right away. 36 hours earlier, Marcus had been kneeling beside a faded blue sedan outside Reed Electric and Repair, with rainwater dripping from the edge of the shop awning and the smell of hot asphalt rising from the parking lot. It was Thursday afternoon, 92 degrees, and his shirt clung to his back beneath his work vest. He had 3 service calls left, a utility bill folded in his glove compartment, and exactly 40 minutes before he had to pick Nia up from her after-school program. The sedan had rolled in coughing like it had swallowed gravel. Behind the wheel sat a white woman in a plain gray t-shirt, dark jeans, and sneakers that looked almost new but not quite broken in. She stepped out slowly, studying the cracked pavement as if she had never stood in a place like this before. "You Marcus Reed?" she asked. Marcus wiped his hands on a shop rag. "Depends. You here to pay me or complain?" For the first time, she smiled. It was small. Real. "My car died 2 blocks away. I was hoping you could save it." Marcus glanced at the sedan, then at the clock above the garage bay. "I can look. No promises." "That's fair," she said. "I'm Evelyn." He nodded once. "Marcus." He opened the hood. The engine ticked softly in the heat. Somewhere behind the shop, a delivery truck hissed its brakes. Evelyn stood near the curb, arms folded, watching him work without scrolling through her phone or asking how long it would take. Most people did one or the other. Marcus noticed because he noticed everything. Loose wires. Bad tires. Empty promises. He found the problem in less than 10 minutes. A corroded battery terminal, cheap and simple, the kind of thing that could ruin a whole day if no one bothered to look closely. "You got lucky," he said. "Bad connection. Not a dead battery. Can you fix it?" "Already am." He tightened the clamp, cleaned the metal, then tapped the hood twice. "Try it now." Evelyn slid behind the wheel. The engine turned over on the first try. Her eyes widened. "That's it." Marcus shut the hood. "Most things aren't as broken as they sound." She looked at him for a second too long. Not flirtatious. Not curious exactly. More like she was trying to remember something she had almost forgotten. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out a crisp $100 bill. "For your time." Marcus stared at it. "Ma'am, it was a battery terminal. Please take it. My rate is $65. Then take the rest as a thank you." He shook his head. "Keep it. Buy yourself a better battery someday." Her expression shifted. Something quiet moved behind her eyes. "You always turn down easy money?" Marcus picked up his tools. Easy money usually comes with a hard story. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Nia's school. He checked the screen, and the tightness in his chest eased when he saw her name in the message preview. Don't forget my recital Saturday, Daddy. He smiled before he could stop himself. Evelyn noticed. Your daughter? Marcus looked up. Yeah. 8 years old. Runs my whole life from a booster seat. Evelyn laughed softly. Then the laughter faded, and she looked toward the street where the late afternoon sun burned against the windows of downtown towers. Do you have plans this weekend? She asked. Marcus narrowed his eyes. That depends. On what? On whether this is about the car. Evelyn held his gaze. The traffic light changed at the corner. Red to green. Green to yellow. For one strange second, the whole city seemed to hold its breath. Then she said, I need a date for Saturday. Just one weekend. Marcus blinked once, certain he had heard her wrong. The shop fan rattled overhead. A loose chain tapped against the metal housing in a thin, uneven rhythm. Evelyn stood beside the blue sedan with one hand resting on the open driver's side door, calm enough to make the question sound ordinary. A date? Marcus asked. For Saturday, she said. Not forever. Not even close. He let out a short breath through his nose. You walked into an electrical repair shop and picked a stranger? I walked into an electrical repair shop because my car broke down. Her eyes held his. I asked you because you were kind when no one was watching. Marcus looked toward the street. Cars moved past the shop in bright streaks of late afternoon light. A school bus groaned at the corner. He had learned a long time ago that trouble rarely announced itself with flashing lights. Sometimes it arrived wearing clean sneakers and speaking softly. What kind of date? He asked. Evelyn glanced down at the pavement. A family event. That sounds worse than a date. That made her laugh again, but only for a second. It is worse. My family has opinions. Loud ones. Marcus folded the shop rag over his palm. And what exactly am I supposed to do? Eat dinner. Be yourself. Stay until the end. That is the whole plan. That is the plan. He studied her face. No makeup trying too hard. No jewelry except a thin gold watch half hidden beneath her sleeve. She looked like someone who had spent the day carrying a weight nobody else could see. Still, Marcus shook his head. I have a daughter. You said that. I pick her up Saturday morning. I take her to dance rehearsal at 2. Her recital starts at 6. Evelyn nodded immediately. Then we work around it. You do not know where it is. Tell me. Marcus almost smiled, but he did not. Why? Evelyn looked at the blue sedan, then at the repaired battery terminal beneath the hood. Because I am tired of people making plans for me. And because I need one night where someone is not trying to get something from me. The words landed quietly. That was what made them stay. Marcus knew that kind of tired. He knew it in the unpaid bills stacked beneath a magnet on his refrigerator. He knew it in the way Nia sometimes stopped asking for things before he had to say no. He knew it in his own reflection after a 12-hour shift, when the man staring back looked older than 34. His phone buzzed again. This time it was a video call. He answered without thinking. Nia's face filled the screen, framed by 2 crooked braids and a purple headband. Daddy, she said. Ms. Lopez says you are late. Marcus checked the time. His stomach dropped. I am on my way, Peanut. Nia squinted at the screen. Who is that lady? Evelyn stepped back, but Nia had already seen her. Hi, Evelyn said gently. I am Evelyn. Nia looked serious. Are you making my dad late? Marcus closed his eyes for half a second. Evelyn pressed her lips together, fighting a smile. I might be, she admitted. But I am going to let him go now. Nia considered that. Okay. He has to get me. He promised. Then he should go, Evelyn said. Marcus heard something in her voice that did not sound like disappointment. It sounded like respect. He ended the call and reached for his keys. Saturday, he said carefully. One event. I leave when I need to leave. No games. No pretending I am somebody else. Evelyn's shoulders eased, almost imperceptibly. Agreed. And you tell me what I am walking into. For the first time, her gaze slipped away. Just 1 second. But Marcus saw it. I will, she said. Before Saturday. He walked toward his truck, then paused at the door. Evelyn. Yes? You owe me $65. Her surprise became a real smile. I thought you said to keep it. Marcus opened the truck door. That was before you hired me for a weekend. Behind him, Evelyn laughed into the heat. But when Marcus drove away, he did not see the black SUV pull slowly from across the street. He did not see the driver lower his phone after taking a picture of Evelyn beside the faded blue sedan. And he did not see the message that appeared on the screen moments later. Ms. Hart has found someone. By Saturday morning, Marcus had almost convinced himself the whole thing was a bad idea. The thought sat in the kitchen with him while he packed Nia's recital bag, pink ballet flats, a water bottle with cartoon stars, 2 granola bars, and the purple cardigan she always forgot until the air conditioning turned cold. Rain pressed lightly against the apartment windows, turning the parking lot below into a blur of silver puddles and red brake lights. Nia sat at the small table in her practice leotard, swinging 1 foot beneath her chair while she colored a sun with too many rays. Is the lady coming? She asked. Marcus looked up from the bag. What lady? Nia gave him the look only an 8-year-old could give, half patience and half disappointment. Evelyn. The one who made you late. Marcus zipped the bag. She is not coming here. Are you going to her party? It is not a party. Then why do you need a nice shirt? Marcus glanced toward the bedroom door, where his only dress shirt hung from a hook. Dark blue. Clean. A little too tight across the shoulders. Because grown-ups sometimes make strange choices. Nia nodded as if that explained everything. At 10 minutes past 11, Marcus's phone lit up on the counter. Evelyn, I will pick you up at 7. Black suit. No tie required. He stared at the message longer than he meant to. Then another appeared. Evelyn, and Marcus, you do not have to impress anyone. Just come as yourself. He typed 3 words before deleting them. Finally, he wrote, I do not do fake. Her reply came almost instantly. Neither do I. Marcus slipped the phone into his pocket, but the words stayed with him. By 2 o'clock, the rain had stopped. Nia's rehearsal filled the little community arts center with the sound of squeaking shoes, nervous laughter, and piano music played too slowly through old ceiling speakers. Marcus sat in the 3rd row with his elbows on his knees, watching Nia count under her breath. 5, 6, 7, 8. She missed a step, froze, then found the rhythm again. When rehearsal ended, she ran into his arms smelling like baby powder and warm gym floors. Did you see me? She asked. Every second. Even when I messed up? Marcus held her small hand as they walked toward the exit. Especially then. Outside, a black SUV waited beside the curb. Marcus stopped. The windows were dark enough to reflect the gray sky. For 1 second, he thought it was the same vehicle from Thursday. Then the rear door opened, and Evelyn stepped out wearing a cream-colored sweater, dark slacks, and flat shoes. No driver opened the door for her. No assistant followed. She carried a cardboard tray with 3 hot chocolates. Nia's eyes widened. You came. Evelyn smiled. I heard there was a rehearsal I should not miss. Marcus looked at her. You did not have to do that. I know. She handed Nia a cup with extra whipped cream. But I wanted to. Nia accepted it carefully. Did Daddy tell you I am dancing tonight? He did. Evelyn crouched slightly so they were eye level. He said you are brave? Nia looked at Marcus, then back at Evelyn. I get scared before I dance. Evelyn's smile softened. So do I sometimes. You dance? Not very well. Nia considered that answer. That is okay. Daddy cannot dance either. Marcus cleared his throat. That is not relevant. Evelyn laughed, and the sound made something in his chest loosen before he could stop it. They stood there beneath the damp afternoon light, 3 people beside a curb, holding paper cups that steamed in the cool air. It looked simple. Almost normal. Then Evelyn's phone rang. The screen flashed with a name Marcus did not recognize, Graham. Her face changed before she answered. Not fear. Not exactly. More like a door closing behind her eyes. I have to take this, she said. I will be right back. She stepped away toward the SUV. Marcus watched her through the open door of the arts center. Her voice stayed low, but one sentence carried across the wet pavement. No, Graham. I said I am bringing someone. Marcus felt Nia tug his hand. Daddy, she whispered, sipping her hot chocolate. Why does she look sad when she talks on the phone? He did not have an answer. Across the curb, Evelyn turned back toward them. She smiled again. But this time, Marcus could see how hard she had to make it happen. At 6:45 that evening, Marcus stood in front of the cracked mirror by his apartment door and adjusted the collar of his dark blue shirt for the 3rd time. The shirt had belonged to him since Nia was 5. It was the one he wore to parent-teacher meetings, job interviews, and the funeral of a neighbor who had taught him how to change a tire when he was 16. It was not fancy, but it was clean. That mattered. Behind him, Nia sat cross-legged on the couch in her recital dress, a soft pink skirt spread around her like a small cloud. Her grandmother, Loretta, was pinning the last loose curl near Nia's ear. You look handsome, Nia announced. Marcus glanced over his shoulder. That is because you have excellent taste. You look nervous, Loretta said. She did not look up from the bobby pin in her fingers. Marcus reached for his watch. I am not nervous. Baby, you have checked that watch 5 times in 1 minute. He stopped moving. Loretta smiled faintly. That makes 6. A horn sounded outside, low and polite. Marcus looked through the window. The same black SUV waited below, shining beneath the street lamp. Evelyn stood beside the rear door in a long charcoal coat, her hair pulled back, one hand tucked into her pocket against the evening chill. She looked up at his building, and for a moment she did not look like someone with a secret. She looked like someone hoping not to be disappointed. Nia ran to the window. She came back. Marcus picked up his keys. I will be back before your recital ends. Nia grabbed his hand before he could reach the door. Daddy. He turned. Her small fingers pressed the purple hair clip into his palm again. You need extra luck tonight. Marcus closed his hand around it. I do. Downstairs, Evelyn waited without checking her phone. When Marcus stepped outside, she smiled at him, but her eyes moved briefly toward the apartment windows above. Your daughter is beautiful, she said. She gets that from her grandmother. And the confidence? Marcus opened the SUV door for her before getting in. That she got from surviving me. The driver pulled away from the curb. For several blocks, neither of them spoke. Rain from earlier still glimmered along the sidewalks. Storefront signs passed across the tinted windows in red, blue, and gold. Marcus sat with his hands folded, feeling the soft edge of the hair clip against his palm. Evelyn sat beside him, closer than he expected but not touching him. Her perfume was light, clean, like rain on warm stone. You can still tell me what I am walking into, he said. Evelyn watched the city slide by. A family dinner. You said that already? A complicated family dinner. That sounds more honest. Her mouth lifted slightly. Then it faded. My grandfather built a company. My father expanded it. My brother was supposed to inherit it. Marcus looked at her. Was supposed to? Evelyn lowered her eyes. He made choices that changed things. The SUV turned onto a wide avenue lined with old trees and stone buildings. Ahead, a hotel rose above the street, all glass and pale limestone, its entrance bright with valets and polished cars. Marcus felt his shoulders tighten. Evelyn, he said, what kind of family dinner needs a hotel like that? She did not answer immediately. Instead, she reached into her bag and pulled out a slim black invitation. The paper was thick. The lettering was embossed in gold. Marcus read the first line before she could turn it over. Hartwell Holdings Annual Foundation Gala. His eyes moved to her face. Evelyn swallowed. I wanted to tell you before we got here. Then tell me now. The SUV slowed beneath the covered entrance. Outside, cameras flashed near the doors. Men in tailored suits moved through the lobby like they owned the air. Evelyn's fingers tightened around the invitation. My last name is Hart, she said quietly. Marcus stared at the gold letters again. The car door opened. Cold night air rushed in. And before he could decide whether to step out or tell the driver to take him home, a man in a tuxedo approached the curb, smiling as if he had been waiting for them all evening. The man at the curb leaned toward the open SUV door with the smooth confidence of someone who had never been told to wait. He was tall, silver at the temples, and dressed in a black tuxedo that fit too perfectly to be comfortable. A white rose rested in his lapel. His smile reached Marcus first, then stopped there. Evelyn, he said. We were beginning to wonder if you had changed your mind. Evelyn stepped out of the SUV before Marcus could answer. Graham. Her voice had gone still. Not cold. Controlled. You remember I told you I was bringing someone? Graham's eyes moved to Marcus again. He gave a polite nod, but it carried the weight of a closed door. Of course. I just did not realize you meant someone from outside the circle. Marcus placed one foot on the pavement and stood. The hotel entrance rose behind them, all marble columns and soft gold light. A valet reached for the SUV door. Somewhere near the lobby, camera shutters clicked in quick bursts. Evelyn looked at Graham. Marcus Reed. Marcus, this is Graham Caldwell. Graham extended his hand. Marcus shook it once. Graham's grip was firm, dry, practiced. What do you do, Mr. Reed? He asked. Marcus let go. Electrical repair. Graham's smile sharpened at the edges. Important work. It keeps the lights on, Marcus said. For the first time, Graham did not have an immediate reply. Evelyn's eyes flicked toward Marcus, and something almost like relief passed through them. Then Graham stepped aside. Your grandfather is asking for you. The board is already seated. Evelyn's shoulders tightened beneath her charcoal coat. I will be there when I am ready. Tonight is not the night to make a statement. Graham lowered his voice, but Marcus heard every word. The press is here. The donors are here. The family is here. Evelyn looked toward the hotel doors. Her reflection trembled in the glass, small against the bright lobby beyond. That is exactly why I came. She turned to Marcus. You do not have to stay. The sentence was simple, but it was not a dismissal. He could hear that. It was an exit she was offering him because she had not offered the truth soon enough. Marcus looked past her at the ballroom entrance. Women in gowns moved beneath hanging lights. Men in tuxedos laughed with their heads tilted back. Everything glowed. Everything looked distant. His phone buzzed in his pocket. A message from Loretta. Nia is eating chicken nuggets and practicing her dance in the hallway. She says not to worry. Marcus smiled despite himself. Then he looked at Evelyn. How long? Until the speeches, she said. Maybe an hour. And then? Then you can leave. No surprises? Evelyn hesitated. That was answer enough. Marcus felt the purple hair clip in his pocket. He thought of Nia's serious little face. Extra luck tonight. He could walk away. He probably should. But Evelyn stood in front of him with her chin lifted and fear tucked carefully behind her eyes, and Marcus knew what it looked like when someone had spent too long standing alone in a room full of people. 1 hour, he said. Evelyn exhaled slowly. 1 hour. They entered together. The lobby smelled faintly of lilies, polished wood, and expensive perfume. A photographer called Evelyn's name from behind a velvet rope. She did not turn. Marcus noticed that. He also noticed the way heads shifted as they passed. Some people looked at Evelyn. Some looked at him. A few looked at both of them, then quickly away. He kept his shoulders straight. At the ballroom doors, a woman in a dark green gown approached. She was older than Evelyn, with pale hair swept into a sleek knot and diamonds at her ears. Her gaze landed on Marcus, then returned to Evelyn with a smile that held no warmth at all. "There you are," she said. "Your grandfather has been asking where you disappeared to." Evelyn's hand brushed Marcus's sleeve, light as a warning. "Aunt Victoria, this is Marcus." Victoria offered him a measured smile. "How interesting." Marcus met her eyes. "People keep saying that tonight." For a second, the woman's expression cracked. Then a voice boomed from inside the ballroom. "Evelyn Hart." The room quieted. At the far end, beneath a massive portrait of a stern man in a navy suit, an elderly gentleman stood beside the stage. His cane rested against one hand. His gaze was fixed on Evelyn. Then it shifted to Marcus. And the silence around them became something heavier than music. For a moment, Marcus thought the old man might simply turn away. The ballroom held its breath around him. Crystal glasses stopped halfway to mouths. A server paused beside a table with a silver tray balanced on one hand. Even the piano seemed to soften beneath the low murmur of the crowd. Evelyn stood beside Marcus, her fingers resting near his sleeve without quite touching it. "Grandfather," she said. The old man's cane clicked once against the marble floor. "You are late." His voice was not loud, but it carried. Evelyn lifted her chin. "I know. And you brought company." His eyes returned to Marcus. They were pale gray, sharp beneath heavy brows. Marcus had met men like that before. Men who looked at a person and decided what they were worth before hearing a single word. He kept his face calm. "Sir?" Marcus said. The old man gave a short nod. "Mr. Reed." Marcus did not remember telling him his name. That made the room feel colder. Evelyn stepped forward. "Marcus is my guest." "For tonight?" the old man asked. "For as long as I choose." A small sound moved through the nearby tables. Not quite a gasp. Not quite a laugh. Graham stood near the bar, watching with his champagne glass held low against his chest. Aunt Victoria looked down at her bracelet as if the diamonds had suddenly become fascinating. The old man's mouth tightened. "We will speak in my office." "No," Evelyn said. Marcus looked at her. The word had come out softly, but it had changed something. Evelyn's shoulders rose with one slow breath. "You have had my answers in private for years. Tonight you can hear one in public." Her grandfather's gaze hardened. "This foundation depends on unity." "No," Evelyn replied. "It depends on people believing we mean what we say." Marcus felt every eye in the ballroom shift toward her. The gold lights above them reflected in the polished floor, making the room look like it was floating. Evelyn turned toward Marcus, and the fear in her face was gone now. In its place was something steadier. "My family thinks appearances are the same as character," she said. "They are not." Graham moved closer. "Evelyn, this is not necessary." She looked at him. "That is what you always say when something matters." The words landed cleanly. Graham's smile disappeared. Marcus could have stepped back. He could have told her he did not belong in this conversation. But then he remembered the way she had stood outside the arts center with hot chocolate for Nia. He remembered her voice when she said, "I wanted to." So he stayed. The old man studied him again. "Mr. Reed, do you understand what this evening represents?" Marcus glanced at the banner above the stage. Hartwell Holdings Annual Foundation Gala. Then he looked at the rows of donors, the cameras, the white tablecloths, the polished shoes. "I understand it is important to your family. It is important to thousands of people," the old man said. "Then maybe they should see what kind of people are leading it," Marcus answered. Silence. Real silence this time. Evelyn looked at him, and for one brief second, her eyes shone. Not with tears. with recognition. A woman near the stage whispered something to another guest. Graham's jaw tightened. The old man tapped his cane once more. You are direct. I repair things, Marcus said. I learned that pretending a problem is not there only makes it worse. The old man's gaze did not leave his face. Then, unexpectedly, he gave the smallest nod. A practical answer. Evelyn exhaled, but the tension did not disappear. It only changed shape. A staff member approached Graham and handed him a phone. Graham read the screen. His expression shifted. He looked at Evelyn, then at Marcus. The board has arrived, he said. They are waiting upstairs. Evelyn's hand finally found Marcus's sleeve. Her fingers were cold. I need 5 minutes, she whispered. Marcus leaned closer, keeping his voice low. 5 minutes for what? She looked toward the private elevator at the end of the ballroom. The doors stood open, bright and waiting. To tell you the part one was too afraid to say in the car. The private elevator doors closed behind them with a soft metallic sigh, shutting out the ballroom music, the cameras, and the careful smiles. For the first time all evening, Marcus could hear Evelyn breathe. It came shallow at first, then slower as the elevator rose. Numbers glowed above the door. 21. 22. 23. Marcus stood beside her with his hands at his sides, still feeling the heat of the ballroom on his skin. You said 5 minutes, he said. Evelyn nodded, staring at the brushed steel doors. I will not waste them. The elevator opened onto a quiet floor lined with dark wood panels and framed black and white photographs. Old factory buildings. Ribbon cuttings. Men in suits shaking hands beside giant machines. At the end of the hallway, floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over the city. Rain clouds had broken apart, leaving the streets below washed in silver light. Evelyn walked toward the glass and stopped. Marcus stayed a few feet away. He had learned not to crowd people when they were deciding whether to tell the truth. Hartwell Holdings is worth more than I can explain without sounding ridiculous, she said. My grandfather built it from one warehouse. Now it owns property, construction firms, medical suppliers, and half the buildings you can see from here. Marcus looked out at the skyline. A tall tower across the avenue carried the Hartwell name in white letters near the roof. He had driven past it hundreds of times. He had never thought about who sat behind those windows. And you? He asked. Evelyn folded her arms against herself. I am the acting chief executive officer. The words hung between them. No music. No laughter. Just the low hum of air conditioning and the distant city below. Marcus looked at her. You are 32. My brother was supposed to take over after my father died. But he resigned last year. Why? Evelyn's eyes lowered. Because he treated people like numbers. And when the board found out, they needed someone else. Marcus waited. Evelyn gave a small, tired smile. They chose me because I knew the company. My grandfather accepted it because he had no better option. And Graham? Marcus asked. The smile vanished. Graham is a board member. His family has been tied to mine for decades. My grandfather wants us to marry. Marcus felt the answer settle in his chest like a stone. So that is what tonight is. Partly. Evelyn turned toward him. The board wants me to announce an engagement. They think it will calm investors. They think it will make me look stable. Marcus gave a quiet laugh without humor. And you brought me to make them nervous. At first, she said. Her voice nearly broke on the last word, but she held it together. At first I thought if I showed up with someone they could not control, they would postpone it. I thought I could buy myself time. Marcus looked away. Outside, headlights moved along the wet streets like thin lines of fire. You should have told me. I know. Before I got in that SUV. I know. Before I stood in front of your family. I know, Marcus. Her voice was steady now. And I am sorry. He looked back at her. She did not reach for him. She did not offer money, excuses, or a polished explanation. She just stood there in the expensive silence, looking smaller than she had beside the broken blue sedan. "Why me?" he asked. Evelyn's eyes filled, but she did not look away. "Because you did not know who I was." Marcus said nothing. "You charged me $65, she continued. "You left because your daughter was waiting. You fixed my car, then you told me to buy a better battery someday. Nobody around me says things like that. Nobody around me tells me the truth unless it benefits them." The elevator bell chimed softly behind them. A message from the ballroom. Time was moving. Evelyn glanced toward the hallway, then back at Marcus. "You can leave," she said. "I will understand." Marcus reached into his pocket and touched the purple hair clip. Nia's lucky charm. His fingers closed around it. "I am not leaving because you are rich," he said. Evelyn held still. "I am leaving if I am only useful when you need a shield." Her face changed. The words hurt her. He could see that. But she nodded. "You are right." Then she took one slow breath and said, "You are not a shield, Marcus. You are the first person tonight who made me want to stop hiding." For a few seconds, Marcus did not move. The city glowed beyond the glass, distant and untouchable, while Evelyn stood in front of him with all the confidence of the ballroom stripped away. Her phone buzzed again in her hand. She looked down at the screen, then turned it face down on the narrow table beside the window. "They can wait," she said. Marcus watched her do it. A small thing. But in a world built around schedules, board votes, and names on buildings, small things could tell the truth. "Your daughter has a recital," Evelyn said quietly. "You should go." He checked his watch. 6:48. The Community Arts Center was 20 minutes away without traffic. Nia would be lining up backstage soon, probably twisting the edge of her cardigan between her fingers. Marcus felt the familiar pull in his chest, the one that came whenever two parts of his life demanded him at once. "I told you I would leave by 7, he said. "Then leave by 7. Evelyn's voice was gentle. "Do not make her wait because of me." Marcus nodded once. "I will not." He reached for the elevator button, but Evelyn stepped closer, stopping just far enough away to leave space between them. "Marcus." He turned. "I do not expect you to forgive me tonight." "Good," he said, not cruelly. "Because I do not know what I am supposed to forgive yet." Evelyn accepted that without flinching. "Then let me earn the answer." The elevator arrived. Its doors opened on a quiet chime. Marcus stepped inside, then looked back. Evelyn stood in the hallway beneath the soft ceiling lights, her cream-colored face reflected faintly in the dark glass behind her. No assistants. No family. No Graham. Just a woman who had spent years being surrounded and still looked alone. "You should come," he said. Evelyn blinked. "To the recital? You brought hot chocolate to rehearsal. That was different." "Why?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. Marcus held the elevator door with one hand. "Nia will be on stage at 7. She gets nervous. If you are coming, come because you want to see her dance. Not because you need to make anything up to me." Evelyn's expression softened. "I want to see her dance." Marcus nodded toward the elevator. "Then move." For the first time since he met her, Evelyn laughed without trying to hide the sound. She stepped inside just as the doors began to close. The ride down was quieter than the ride up, but it was not empty. Marcus called Loretta from the elevator. She answered on the second ring. "Where are you?" "On my way." "Is Nia okay?" "She is fine. She has asked for you every 5 minutes, which means she is scared and pretending she is not." Marcus looked at Evelyn. She stood beside him, listening without interrupting. "Tell her I am coming," he said. "Tell her I have extra luck." Loretta paused. "You better get here fast, baby." The call ended. When the elevator doors opened into the lobby, the ballroom noise rushed toward them again. Graham was waiting near the entrance, his face tense now, his perfect smile gone. "Evelyn," he said. "The board is asking for you." Evelyn walked past him. Tell them I will be back. Graham followed 2 steps behind. This is not a game. Evelyn stopped. Marcus stopped beside her. The lobby lights shone across the marble floor, bright enough to show every reflection. Evelyn turned slowly. No, she said. It is not. Graham looked at Marcus, then back at her. You are risking the company for a man you met 2 days ago. Evelyn's eyes did not leave his. I am risking nothing. I am choosing 1 hour of my own life. Graham's jaw tightened. Your grandfather will not understand. Then he can learn. She took Marcus's hand before he could decide whether to offer it. Her fingers were cold, but her grip was steady. They walked through the hotel doors together. Outside, the rain had started again, light and soft against the sidewalk. The black SUV waited at the curb. Marcus glanced at the driver. Community Arts Center on Pine Street, he said. And please do not drive like this is an emergency. Evelyn looked at him. It is not. Marcus opened the car door for her. My daughter is dancing. That is important. But she needs to see us walk in calm. Evelyn slid into the seat. Then calm, she said. The SUV pulled away from the hotel. Behind them, Hartwell Holdings glowed above the ballroom windows. Ahead of them, through the rain, the city opened into smaller streets and ordinary lights. Marcus looked down at Evelyn's hand resting beside his on the seat between them. He did not take it. Not yet. But he did not move away. The Community Arts Center was already full when the SUV turned onto Pine Street. Minivans lined both sides of the block. Parents hurried through the rain with umbrellas tilted against the wind, carrying garment bags, flowers, and paper cups of coffee. The building itself was small and old, with a faded blue sign above the entrance, and warm light spilling through its front windows. Marcus felt his shoulders drop the moment he saw it. This was a place he understood. Folding chairs. Scuffed floors. Parents who clapped too loud because they loved their children too much. The driver stopped at the curb. Marcus was out before the car fully settled. Evelyn followed, pulling her coat closed against the rain. This is different from your gala, Marcus said as they hurried beneath the awning. Evelyn looked through the glass doors at a little boy in a pirate costume crying beside his mother. It looks better. Inside, the hallway smelled like wet coats, popcorn, and the faint dust of old curtains. A handwritten sign pointed toward the auditorium. Marcus scanned the crowd until he saw Loretta near the back wall, holding Nia's small pink cardigan over one arm. The relief on her face lasted only a second before she folded her arms. You made it, she said. Barely, Marcus answered. Loretta's eyes moved to Evelyn. She did not smile right away. And this must be the lady from the hot chocolate. Evelyn extended her hand. Evelyn Hart. It is nice to meet you. Loretta shook it once, firm and brief. Loretta Reed. Nia is backstage. She has been asking for her father. Marcus started toward the auditorium doors, but Loretta touched his arm. She is fine, she said quietly. Then her gaze returned to Evelyn. You got him here on time. That is a good first step. Evelyn nodded as if she had been given an important instruction. I understand. Backstage, the air was warmer and louder. Children in costumes moved in nervous clusters. Teachers whispered reminders. Someone adjusted a speaker that kept making a soft popping sound. Nia stood near the curtain in her pink skirt, staring at the floor and twisting the purple ribbon around her wrist. When she saw Marcus, her whole face changed. Daddy! She ran to him, and he crouched to catch her. I told you I would be here. Nia held his neck for one long second. I thought you were at the fancy party. Marcus looked over her shoulder at Evelyn, who had stopped a few feet away. I was. But I had somewhere more important to be. Nia pulled back. Did you bring Evelyn? She wanted to see you dance, Marcus said. Nia looked at Evelyn with careful seriousness. You came? Evelyn smiled. I said I would. Nia's eyes moved to the hallway beyond them. Do you have a fancy dress? Evelyn glanced down at her charcoal coat and damp shoes. Not tonight. Nia seemed satisfied by that. Then her face tightened again. What if I forget? Marcus adjusted the ribbon on her wrist. Then you find the next step. What if everybody looks at me? They will, he said. Because you are wonderful. Nia looked uncertain. Evelyn knelt beside them, her voice low enough that only Nia could hear. When I get scared in a big room, I find one face that feels safe. Nia looked from Evelyn to Marcus. Daddy's face. Exactly, Evelyn said. And mine too, if you want. A teacher called the dancers into line. Nia took a breath that made her small shoulders rise. Then she reached for Marcus's hand with one hand and Evelyn's with the other. For a moment, they stood there beneath the backstage lights, connected by the warm pressure of a child's fingers. Then Nia let go and walked toward the curtain. Marcus and Evelyn found seats in the third row. The auditorium lights dimmed. A piano began to play. Nia stepped onto the stage with the other children, her pink skirt catching the soft glow. Marcus leaned forward, his hands clasped between his knees. Evelyn sat beside him, quiet as the music. Nia missed her first count. Marcus saw it. Her foot stopped. Her eyes searched the dark room. Then she found him. And beside him, she found Evelyn. Nia lifted her chin. The next step landed perfectly. Then another. And another. By the time the song ended, she was smiling. The applause rose around them, loud and bright. Marcus stood first. Evelyn stood beside him. But as Marcus clapped for his daughter, Evelyn's phone began to vibrate in her coat pocket. Once. Twice. Then again. She looked down at the screen, and all the color left her face. The applause was still rolling through the auditorium when Evelyn slipped her phone from her pocket. The screen glowed against her palm. Graham Caldwell. Then another call. Then a message from the Heartfelt board secretary. Marcus saw her face change before he saw the words. The warmth she had carried backstage disappeared behind a careful stillness. What is it? He asked. Evelyn looked toward the stage, where Nia was bowing with the other dancers, her pink skirt swaying as the children waved at their families. They moved the vote, Evelyn said. To tonight. Marcus frowned. What vote? Evelyn swallowed. The board can remove me as acting chief executive officer. The applause softened as parents began gathering coats and flowers. Around them, children rushed toward the aisles, laughing and calling for their families. The ordinary joy of the room made Evelyn's fear look even sharper. Because you left the gala? Marcus asked. Because I left the gala. Because I refused to announce what they wanted. Because Graham has been waiting for a reason to say I am not ready. Her phone vibrated again. This time she did not look at it. Marcus watched Nia scan the audience from the stage. She found him, then lifted both hands in a small victory wave. He smiled and waved back. What happens if they vote you out? He asked. Evelyn looked down at her damp coat sleeve. Graham becomes interim chief executive officer. He will call it stability. And you? I go back to being the granddaughter who disappointed everyone. Marcus sat with that for a moment. The piano teacher began guiding the children off stage. Loretta appeared at the end of the row, holding Nia's cardigan and a small bouquet wrapped in grocery store paper. She did good, Loretta said. Marcus stood. She did. Loretta looked at Evelyn, then at the phone in her hand. Everything all right? Evelyn gave the kind of smile people used when the answer was no. Just work. Loretta's eyes narrowed slightly. Work has bad timing. Nia came running down the aisle, cheeks pink, hair coming loose from its pins. Marcus opened his arms, and she crashed into him with the full force of a child who had been brave for 3 whole minutes. Did you see? She asked. Every step, Marcus said. Even the first one? Especially the first one. Nia pulled back and looked at Evelyn. Did you see me too? Evelyn crouched in front of her. For a second, the phone buzzed again in Evelyn's hand, but she ignored it. I saw you find the next step, she said. That was my favorite part. Nia smiled. Then she noticed the tension in Evelyn's face. Children noticed more than adults gave them credit for. Are you sad? She asked. Evelyn looked at her. The question was small. Honest. Impossible to escape. A little, Evelyn said. But I am also happy I came. Nia considered this, then held out one of the small flowers from her bouquet. It was a yellow daisy, bent slightly at the stem. You can have this one. It helps. Evelyn took it carefully, as if it were something rare. Thank you. Marcus watched her close her fingers around the flower. No diamonds. No boardroom. No family name. Just a bent daisy from an 8-year-old girl. He understood then that Evelyn was not afraid of losing a title. She was afraid of being pushed back into a life where every choice had a price attached to it. His phone buzzed. A message from the black SUV driver waited on the screen. Ms. Hart's board meeting begins in 12 minutes. The driver had added no pressure, no explanation. Just the time. Marcus looked at Evelyn. You have to go. She nodded, but she did not move. I know. Do you want me to come? The question surprised both of them. Evelyn looked at him, and the auditorium noise seemed to fall away. You do not owe me that. I know. He glanced at Nia, then Loretta. But you came for my daughter. Loretta stepped closer, her expression softening. Go, she said. I will get this little star home and make sure she eats something besides frosting. Nia gasped. Grandma. Loretta lifted one eyebrow. You heard me. Marcus knelt in front of Nia. I have to help Evelyn with something. Nia looked at the yellow daisy in Evelyn's hand. Is it important? Marcus looked at Evelyn, then back at his daughter. Yeah, Peanut. I think it is. Nia nodded slowly. Then help her find the next step. Evelyn's eyes closed for one brief second. When she opened them, she looked at Marcus differently. Not like a shield. Not like a solution. Like a person standing beside her by choice. Outside, rain tapped softly against the windows. Evelyn's phone buzzed one more time. This time, she answered it. Tell the board I am coming, she said. Her voice was calm. And tell them I will speak for myself. The boardroom occupied the top floor of Heartfelt Tower, 42 stories above the rain. Its windows wrapped around the city in dark glass, reflecting the people inside until every face seemed doubled. Marcus stood near the door in his dark blue shirt, feeling the damp cold still clinging to his shoulders from the walk across the lobby. Evelyn sat at the long walnut table with the yellow daisy beside her folder. It looked almost out of place among the leather portfolios, crystal water glasses, and silver pens. But she had placed it there herself. Graham sat across from her, composed again in his tuxedo, though his bow tie had been loosened. Evelyn's grandfather sat at the head of the table, his cane resting against the chair beside him. The other board members watched in the polished silence of people used to deciding the futures of strangers. You left a public event during a critical announcement, Graham said. His voice was even, almost gentle. You brought an unknown guest into a room filled with donors and press. Then you abandoned the board. Evelyn did not look down. I attended my friend's daughter's recital. Graham's eyes moved briefly toward Marcus. That is not the point. It is exactly the point, Evelyn said. You believe a company is stable only when its leaders are available to you at every moment. I believe it is stable when its leaders remember who they are responsible to. A board member with a red tie folded his hands. Ms. Hart, this is not a philosophy seminar. Investors have concerns. They should, Evelyn said. They should be concerned about whether we lead with fear or with purpose. Marcus watched her fingers rest near the daisy. They were steady now. Graham leaned forward. You are making this personal. Evelyn looked at him. You made it personal when you expected me to announce an engagement as proof that I can run a company. The room went still. The red-tie board member looked toward Graham. Another woman shifted in her chair. Evelyn's grandfather closed his eyes for one brief second. Graham's face tightened. That was a private family discussion. No, Evelyn said. It was a business strategy disguised as a family discussion. Marcus felt the words settle into the room. No one spoke. Rain traced slow lines down the windows. Far below, headlights moved through the city like tiny beads of light. Graham reached for a folder. The board has a responsibility to protect Hartwell Holdings. Your behavior tonight has created questions about judgment. Then ask them, Evelyn said. Ask me about the medical supply contract I renegotiated last month. Ask me about the 3 warehouses we kept open when other companies closed theirs. Ask me why our employee retention rose after we increased family leave. Ask me why the foundation has funded more neighborhood clinics this year than it did in the last 5. Her voice did not rise. It did not need to. Ask me about my work. Do not ask me to prove my worth by standing beside a man you selected for me. Graham looked toward Marcus again. And this man? Is he part of your judgment? Marcus felt the old instinct rise in him, the one that said stay quiet, do not make trouble, leave before people decide you do not belong. But Evelyn had asked to speak for herself. So he kept his eyes on the table and let her answer. Marcus is not evidence of my judgment, she said. He is a person. He is here because I invited him. Graham gave a thin smile. You have known him for 2 days. And in 2 days he has told me the truth more often than some people have in 20 years. Evelyn's grandfather opened his eyes. His gaze moved from Evelyn to Marcus, then to the yellow daisy. Mr. Reed, he said. Marcus looked up. Sir? Why are you here? The question was not cruel. That made it harder. Marcus thought of Nia standing under the stage lights. He thought of Evelyn in the hotel hallway, asking him not to forgive her too quickly. He looked at the old man. Because your granddaughter showed up for my daughter, he said. And because when someone is trying to find the next step, you do not leave them alone on the floor. The room fell quiet again. Graham looked down at his folder. Evelyn's hand moved toward the daisy, then stopped just beside it. Her grandfather stared at Marcus for a long moment. Then he leaned back in his chair and said, Proceed with the vote. No one moved for several seconds. The rain kept sliding down the windows. The yellow daisy rested beside Evelyn's folder, its bent stem casting a thin shadow across the polished table. Then the board secretary stood and passed out small electronic tablets, 1 to each member. Graham accepted his without looking at anyone. Evelyn's grandfather held his tablet in both hands, his expression unreadable. Marcus stayed near the door. He had never been in a room where a tap of a finger could change someone's life. At Reed Electric, decisions came with wires, breakers, and the smell of hot metal. You found the problem. You fixed it or you did not. Here, everything was quiet enough to hide the damage. The motion is to remove Evelyn Hart as acting chief executive officer, the secretary said. Her voice sounded careful, almost apologetic. A vote in favor transfers interim authority to Graham Caldwell pending a full review. Evelyn looked at the tablet in front of her, but she did not touch it. Before you vote, she said. Graham's jaw tightened. We have heard enough. Evelyn turned toward him. You have heard what you expected to hear. That is not the same thing. The old man at the head of the table lifted one hand. Graham fell silent. Evelyn stood. Her chair made a soft sound against the floor. She looked around the table, meeting each face one by one. I will not ask you to keep me because I am family, she said. I will not ask you to keep me because you feel sorry for me. I am asking you to look at the work. She opened her folder and slid several pages across the table. 3 months ago, we changed our paid family leave policy. The board called it too expensive. Since then, we have lost fewer trained employees, reduced turnover costs, and increased productivity at every facility where it was implemented. A board member picked up the report. Another leaned closer. Evelyn continued. We reopened 2 clinics in neighborhoods where our own employees could not afford care. We did not do it for headlines. We did it because people who build this company should not have to choose between a doctor visit and groceries. Graham gave a quiet, impatient breath. This is not relevant to your conduct tonight. Evelyn looked at him. It is the only thing that is relevant. Her voice stayed calm. You want to remove me because I walked out of a ballroom. I want you to consider whether a company that cannot survive one woman attending a child's recital was ever stable to begin with. The words landed with no anger in them. That made them stronger. Marcus watched Graham's face harden, then watched something else happen around the table. The board members stopped looking at Evelyn like a problem. They started looking at the papers. The red tie man adjusted his glasses. The woman beside him turned a page slowly. Evelyn's grandfather reached for the report, but before he could open it, Graham spoke again. This is emotional theater. Marcus felt his hands tighten at his sides. Evelyn did not. She looked at Graham with a sadness that seemed older than the room. No, she said. Emotional theater is asking a woman to announce an engagement so men can feel comfortable with her leadership. Graham's face lost color. The secretary looked down. The rain tapped harder against the glass. Evelyn's grandfather placed his hand flat on the table. Is that true? He asked. Graham did not answer right away. It was a suggestion, he said. For the good of the company. For the good of whom? Evelyn asked. No one spoke. The old man's gaze stayed on Graham. You told me it was Evelyn's idea. Graham's eyes shifted. Just once. But everyone saw it. Marcus understood then that the room had changed. Not because he had said anything. Not because Evelyn had demanded sympathy. It changed because the truth had finally been placed in the center of the table where nobody could pretend not to see it. Evelyn looked at her grandfather. I am not asking you to choose me over him, she said. I am asking you to choose honesty over convenience. Her grandfather looked down at the yellow daisy. Slowly, he picked it up. The small flower looked almost weightless in his large hand. When Evelyn was 6, he said, she used to bring flowers into my office from the garden. She said every room needed something alive in it. His voice grew quieter. I told her offices were for work. Evelyn's eyes lowered. The old man looked around the table. I was wrong. He placed the daisy back beside her folder. Then he lifted his tablet. My vote is no. One by one, the tablets lit up around the table. Marcus could not see every screen. He did not need to. The secretary watched the results appear, her lips parting slightly. Graham sat perfectly still. Finally, she looked up. The motion fails, she said. Evelyn Hart remains acting chief executive officer. The silence that followed was not empty. It was the sound of a door opening somewhere no one had expected. The boardroom did not erupt. There were no cheers, no dramatic applause, no sudden warmth from the people who had spent the last hour measuring Evelyn's life in percentages and headlines. There was only the soft click of tablets being set down, the rain against the windows, and Graham Caldwell gathering his folder with hands that were no longer quite steady. He stood first. This is not over, he said. Evelyn looked at him across the table. Her voice was quiet. No. It is not. But it will be honest from now on. Graham held her gaze for a moment, then turned and walked out. The door closed behind him with a low, final sound. Evelyn remained standing beside her chair. Marcus watched her shoulders loosen by degrees, as if she had been holding up a ceiling no one else could see. Her grandfather stayed at the head of the table, looking older now beneath the white boardroom lights. He reached for his cane, but before he rose, he looked at Evelyn. You should have told me, he said. Evelyn's eyes flickered. I tried. The old man looked down at the yellow daisy beside her folder. I know. It was not an apology large enough to repair years. But it was the first honest thing Marcus had heard from him. Evelyn nodded once. That is a start. Her grandfather turned toward Marcus. Mr. Reed. Marcus stepped away from the door. Sir? You have a daughter? Yes. She danced tonight. Marcus smiled despite the exhaustion in his bones. She did. The old man gave the smallest nod. Do not miss the next one. Marcus looked at Evelyn. Then back at him. I do not plan to. A few minutes later, the elevator carried Marcus and Evelyn down through the sleeping floors of Heartfelt Tower. Either of them spoke. The city outside was beginning to pale at the edges. Rain had stopped. Water shone on rooftops and sidewalks, catching the first gray-blue light of morning. Evelyn held the yellow daisy in one hand. Its petals had begun to curl at the edges, but she carried it carefully. When the elevator doors opened into the quiet lobby, Marcus checked his phone. A message from Loretta waited there. Nia is asleep. She left one ballet shoe in the hallway and asked if Evelyn liked the show. Marcus showed the screen to Evelyn. Her tired smile appeared slowly. Did she? She asked. She liked it. Good. They stepped outside. The black SUV waited at the curb, but Marcus did not move toward it. Across the street, a small diner had just turned on its neon sign. The letters buzzed softly in the wet dawn. Open all night. Marcus looked at Evelyn. Have you eaten? She blinked. I had half a glass of sparkling water at the gala. That does not count. I know. He nodded toward the diner. Come on. Inside, the booths were cracked red vinyl, and the air smelled like coffee, toast, and syrup. A waitress poured 2 mugs without asking. Marcus ordered eggs, hash browns, and pancakes. Evelyn ordered the same thing after looking at the menu for nearly a full minute. They sat across from each other in the window booth while the city woke up around them. No cameras. No board members. No family portraits watching from the walls. Just 2 tired people with coffee between them. Evelyn wrapped both hands around her mug. You can have every room in the city, Marcus said, looking out at the rainwater shining along the curb. But this is the first one where you stayed. Evelyn looked at him. The words settled between them, simple and true. I want to keep staying, she said. Marcus did not answer right away. He thought of Nia's purple hair clip in his pocket. He thought of the way Evelyn had sat beside him in the dark auditorium, watching his daughter find the next step. Then do not hide behind your last name with me, he said. Evelyn nodded. I will not. The waitress set down their plates. Steam rose from the pancakes. Outside, the clouds began to thin, and a pale line of sunlight touched the tops of the buildings. Marcus reached across the table, not far, just enough for his hand to rest beside Evelyn's. She looked down at it, then placed her hand beside his. Not a promise. Not yet. Just a beginning. And somewhere across town, in a small apartment with a pink ballet shoe in the hallway, Nia slept through the morning light, unaware that her father had not changed the world overnight. He had only helped one woman remember that power meant nothing if it did not leave room for kindness.